Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating Podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. One of the things that I find to be really hard for people is that we want to achieve whatever goal it is that we're setting out for ourselves. We want to achieve something. And in this particular circumstance, in the circumstance that most of us are in for being in this group or listening to this podcast, is that you have some issue with emotional eating that you want to address, and you are looking for a solution. You're looking for a plan, and along with that, you also want to lose weight. And those are great goals. Those are awesome goals. But we have to realize that in order to achieve anything in our lives, we have to come up with a plan. We have to have some kind of plan. We can't winging it is what we used to do when we were young. Winging it was what you did when you were a kid. I don't know how many of you ever went in and thought, oh, I can just take this test and see what happens. And I think I was paying attention during class, and you didn't study at all. That's winging it. Or going in and doing a presentation just by memory. Oh, never goes well. So what we're going to talk about today is why you need to have a plan, why you need to make decisions ahead of time. And we're going to talk about what the ramifications are of not doing that, of what happens when we try to wing it. We don't want to get locked into a plan. Well, we do need to lock ourselves into a plan. We do need to commit to whatever it is that we're doing, and all these pieces go together. Why we need to do that, why that's important, and then what are the things, if we are actually, in this case, in the case that we're talking about, if we are going to want to lose weight as an emotional eater, what do we need to have in this said plan, whatever it is, whatever plan that we decide to do, what are the things that we need to have in order for us not only to be successful, but as an emotional eater to be able to lose weight and keep it off. I think every person who's listening to my voice, I don't think that's an exaggeration to say that every person who's listening to my voice has probably at some point lost weight. In fact, I'm almost positive that everyone has lost weight. But have you been able to keep it off? Have you been able to maintain that weight loss? And that's really what most people struggle with, is that idea of how do I maintain that weight loss and keep myself, keep myself focused on what I need to do in order to make sure that I am leading myself in the right direction, and I'm not going to undo all of the good things that I've done. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you are listening on the podcast and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook, you want to become one. So go to www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough and become a member of I think one of the most supportive and nurturing and just crazy fun, good groups on Facebook. It is really a place where people can feel a connection and a camaraderie with other people who are dealing with many of the same issues that they're dealing with. Everybody's situation is totally unique and different, but in most cases, most of us who are emotional eaters have some similarities, have some threads that are going through the things that are going on in our lives and the relationships that we're having with food. And so it's just a very safe place where you can feel really cared for and really aligned with the other people in the group who are kind of going through the same types of things, the same issues involving food and food's control and impact in your life. So again, if you're not a member, please jump on in and join us. Again, www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough. All right, on to the good stuff. So why you need a plan. What is the reason why you need a plan to accomplish any goal? Okay, any goal. This is true with anything. And we will talk a little bit more specifically about how it relates to weight loss. But in this case, this applies to any sort of goal that you want to reach. Say you're looking for a new job. You're not happy with the job that you have and you want to look for a new job. Or you're not happy in the relationship that you have and you want to seek to try and change that relationship or evolve it and make it better. Any of those aspirations that you have, whatever it is, if you want to learn a new skill, if you want to take on a new habit, any of those things we can't go in blind. We need to have a plan. Why is it that we need to have a plan? Why do we need to have something more structured for us? So the first reason, there are actually 4 reasons why you need to have some sort of plan that you're following. And it's not to control you. Okay, it is not to control you. We will get to probably the biggest, most important reason, and the biggest reason that we talk about in the group most frequently. We're going to get to that one at the end. But there are many reasons why we need to have a plan. So the first one is, when you have a plan and you decide something, you decide that, like, I'm going to, like, for instance, we're going to use it in the scope of what I ask people to do is I ask people to make a meal plan ahead of time for the day. So when you decide ahead of time what you are going to eat, there are many positive ramifications that come from that. The first one is that it saves you time. It saves you time, because when you make the decision about what it is that you are going to eat ahead of time, you suddenly don't have to waste your time thinking about, well, what am I going to have? We just finished breakfast. What am I going to have for lunch? Am I going to do, how many calories is that going to be? How's that going to impact me? We spend so much energy and time fixated on food. And the reason why we do that is because we let our brain just take off and go in any direction we want it to go in. And so we have to make the decision ahead of time. When we make a decision, and I know one of the people who's listening right now, there are many of you who are in the group who are watching this live, and I know that there are many people who are watching this who are listening and who are thinking, yes, when I started making my meal plans ahead of time, I thought that meant that I was going to become even more fixated on food, and the reality is the exact opposite happened. The exact opposite thing happened. When they made a plan and they committed to what they were going to eat during the day, suddenly they didn't have to think about food anymore, because the decision had already been made. They had already made the decision. They could move on and do other things. So it saves you time, because you're not wasting all of that time fixated on, well, what am I going to eat? I don't know. Is that going to be good? Is that what I'm going to want? How's that going to impact me? We let that go. Second thing, when you decide ahead of time, it increases the actions that you take. And it kind of piggybacks on what I just talked about in the first one, is when you don't have to sit there and be fixated on food, suddenly you have all the time in the world to go and do a project, to clean something, to do something for yourself, to do some self-care. You have all of this, you now have the energy and the brain space to be able to take more actions to lead you to what you want to get to. So that's another bonus. The third thing is, and I apologize for that noise. Hopefully I'm going to be able to get rid of that, but I apologize for the noise. Neighbor's using a weed whacker right now. Sorry. So it's just one of the things that happens sometimes when we're doing live stuff. The third thing is, it is going, when you make a decision and you decide something, for instance, what you're going to eat, each time you follow through on that, it helps you build confidence. It helps you build confidence and believe in yourself that you can actually follow through on what you say you're going to do. So when we make a plan and we decide, okay, this is what I'm going to eat today and this is what I'm committing to, each time you are able to follow through, you're able to build up your confidence and your belief in yourself, because you've proven to yourself that you can actually do it. And that is incredibly powerful and so, so valuable. And the last thing, and this is probably the thing that I talk about in the group most, and I also talk about this with my private clients as well as in my membership group, is we talk a lot about how our brain works. And your brain needs direction. Your brain needs to be told what to do. So one of the things that most people will talk about is when they start making a meal plan and they start to follow it, they realize that it's not as hard because they've made a decision. They've given their brain direction. Their brain is not as likely to wander off and decide that it wants to go off and it wants to eat something that's not on the plan. It narrows itself back in, gets itself back onto focus, and then decides, okay, this is I've been given this instructions. These are the things we're going to eat. This is what we're going to do. So your brain actually follows through for you, but it also has to be shown that it can trust you, that you're going to make the right decision. So when you make that decision and you stick to it, again, you build that confidence. And then your brain just wants to continue to take your direction and listen to you and follow what you want it to do. So again, the four reasons: it saves time, it increases your action, it builds your confidence, and it gives your brain direction, and your brain is able to follow through on what you ask it to do. So those are the reasons why we need to make a plan, why we need to have something in place ahead of time. We don't just go in and we don't just wing it. For anybody who has ever followed my program or followed my plan, you know when you don't make a meal plan, your day goes sideways. You're almost guaranteed that something is going to happen. You're going to go off, and you're going to end up doing things that are not going to be serving your life and moving you forward. So we want to make sure that we always have those plans. So whether or not you follow what I talk about, whether you follow a keto plan, a paleo plan, whatever it is, whatever type of weight loss method you want to use, because I do not call mine a diet. I do not believe that what I teach is about dieting. In fact, I think it's actually the antithesis of it. But what is really important is I have come up with 6 things that I think are absolutely vital for anyone to be able to be successful, not only in losing weight initially, but in keeping it off. Because I think that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where things get really tough, is how do we lose weight and keep it off? So I'm going to ask in the group, how many of you are rock stars at losing weight, but the issue comes after the fact when you can't seem to keep it off? So I want you to write. So if I'm talking to you, if that's you and you are thinking, oh my gosh, that's totally me, I want you to put maintain in the comments. I want you to put that word maintain. That tells me that yes, you can lose weight, but it's the keeping it off that's the hard part. So maintain is the word that I want you to put in the comments. So what are the things that a plan a plan that's going to work and that's going to work long term for you? What needs to be a part of it? So there's 6 things. The first one is, it must not dramatically impact your life. It must not dramatically change the way your life goes excuse me, from one day to the next. We can't have those dramatic shifts. Excuse me. It has to be something that fits in with your life, that your life doesn't have to suddenly become very different in order for this plan to work. So that's the first thing. Cannot dramatically impact your life. Can't dramatically change your life. Second thing, it must be something that you see yourself doing when you are 80 years old. And I can tell you, because I say this all the time, I do not want anyone measuring, counting calories, or, weighing things when they're 80 years old. No one should be doing that. Not what you want to be doing. You want to be doing something, you want to be doing something that's going to be something that is livable, that you can do throughout your life. Third thing, it must include foods that you enjoy eating. It can't be so dramatically different. Again, it kind of falls into line with number 1. Can't be so dramatically different that these are all foods that you hate, and you lose weight just eating stuff that you really don't want to eat, and you're not enjoying it, and it's a miserable, horrible experience. Weight loss does not need to be miserable. That is something that's a thought and a belief that people need to change. Weight loss does not have to be miserable. Number 4, whatever program, whatever method you use, it has to teach you how to navigate real life experiences. So that means vacations, holidays, birthdays, any kind of celebration, weddings, a death in the family, a job change, a divorce, any of those things, you have to be able, you have to have the tools to be able to still maintain your way of eating when all of those things happen. And if it doesn't have something where it teaches you how you navigate those situations, it's not going to work, because all those situations are part of life. They happen. We can't control them. They are out of our control. They are circumstances beyond what we can control. But we have to be able to know how we can navigate through those things. So if it doesn't include that, it's not worth doing. Number 5, there is not a dramatic change from losing weight to maintaining weight. There can't be this, and here you're doing all this restricting, and all of a sudden we get to maintenance and it's like, ooh, you get to eat whatever you want again. Those two things are not, they don't go together. My belief is that you need to be eating the foods that you love while losing weight. So when you get to your goal, there is no dramatic change. You don't have to change anything, because you've been eating what you want to eat and what you enjoy throughout your process. And so when you get to maintenance, there's just little tweaks that you have to make, nothing dramatic and big. And the last thing is, and this is probably I think it's the most important one, and I think it's the thing that separates what myself and a few other people do and really puts it on a different level, is it has to address the psychological aspects, the psychological side of why you became overweight in the first place, why you eat more food than you need, why you eat for reasons other than being hungry, and why you are making food something other than just sustenance for life. Why is it becoming a crutch? Why isn't it becoming something that is getting you through the day? Why is it becoming your entertainment? If we don't know those whys, and you don't look at those deeper issues, and as well as your value for yourself and how much you value yourself, if you don't address those, I can promise you that any of the weight that you lose is going to come back, and it's going to come back with even more weight attached to it. So I was just actually looking through one of my books, and it was talking about how 99%, only 1% of people who lose weight actually, and this is, worldwide, or United States, worldwide, 1% of people who lose weight actually keep it off, and keep it off forever. It's extremely rare for people to lose weight and actually keep it off. There was a study done, I believe it was 2018, where they followed 13 participants from The Biggest Loser television show. There were 13 participants that they followed over the course of 5 years. And they kept track of them, kept track of their weight loss when they were on the show, and then how they did up to 5 years after they were on the show. And of the 13, one of them maintained their weight within 5 pounds of what they had lost. One. Everyone else, all 12 other participants, and this is not the total number of people who had followed the plans or who'd been on the Biggest Loser show. This is just, they did a small group. Of the 13, of those 12 remaining, every single one of them gained back all of their weight. And of those people, of those 12 who gained back all of their weight, at least 2/3 of them gained back more weight than when they had started on the show. So it is absolutely, it is something that is you, and for anyone who has watched that show or who has been on a traditional diet, you're going to address what you eat and how much you move. And you're totally missing the whole mental side of it, the whole emotional side of it. And if you didn't think that there was an emotional side, you probably wouldn't be listening to this podcast, and you probably wouldn't be watching in my group. So it obviously, we know there's a connection. We know that's true. And so now it's like, okay, so now what do we do? Now we know how important that is. We know that piece has to be addressed. And how do we address it? So that is the question, is how is that done? So again, we have those 6 things we need to include. Next week, in lieu of the podcast, I'm going to be doing a 3-day masterclass. It was originally only 2, but I realized I needed to have a 3rd day. So a 3-day masterclass next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 25th, 26th, and 27th of January. We're going to have a 3-day masterclass of, not all day, but they're a 3-day, about 30 minute, between 20 to 30 minute class. And it is going to cover weight loss done right. Weight loss done the right way. How do you go about losing weight in a way that fits all those boxes, those 6 boxes that you need to have? How do you go about doing that? And how do you go about doing that so you can, when you get to your weight that you want to maintain, how do you get there and how do you stay there? So if that is something that you're interested in being a part of that masterclass next week, please, in the comments, if you're watching this, whether you're watching it live, whether you're watching it on replay in the group, I want you to put masterclass in the comments. If that is something that you're interested in being a part of, it will absolutely, I can promise you that there are going to be so many things that you're going to learn from those 3 classes about steps that you absolutely can take on your own. Yes, I am a coach. Yes, I provide support and coaching and all the things to people who want that. But these are also things that you can start doing on your own in your daily life. Some of them have to do with food, most of them don't. So I really want to emphasize these are going to be things that you are going to be able to take away and incorporate on your own, and really start to put yourself in the best possible position to be able to get a better relationship with yourself, get a better relationship with food, and in turn be able to move yourself towards the goal that you want of managing your emotional eating, changing your relationship with food, and then losing the weight that you want to lose. And I will tell you that more often than not, it has very little to do with food, and it has way more to do with your relationship with yourself and how you feel about yourself. So that is what we're going to be talking about in that masterclass, and how we go about doing that, how we go about positioning ourselves to be able to do that. So that is the podcast for today. I hope that was helpful. I hope that it was informative, as well as just a little bit of a tease for the masterclass next week, which I'm so very excited about. I think it's going to be amazing for those people who decide to participate. Again, I think you're going to learn a lot about some things that you can do that it will really, really be helpful in, again, moving you forward in not only addressing your emotional eating, but also losing weight in the process. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I appreciate those people in the group who have joined, who jumped on. If you're in the group, stay live in the group. Don't jump off yet. I'm going to jump on over and say a quick hello to all of you. But please, again, if you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community and you want to become one, go to www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough and join the community and get in on all of the good things that we are doing in the group. All right, take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you all next week.